Farrell, thank you so much for tuning in to me. It must be Wednesday. That's why I'm here. 11:30 a.m. is when we meet together every single Wednesday. So if you missed one, guess what? I'll be back next Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. And that's Eastern Standard Time for our folks that don't live in my time zone. I'm located in Georgia, so that would be Eastern Time Zone. We have folks that comment on what I do from all over the world. So thank you so much for joining me. If you ever need to get in touch with me now, I've got two ways. You can go to my website, scotferrell.com. That's spelled with one T. Or you can send me a question or comment to show@scotferrell.com. So scotferrell.com is my website, and show@scotferrell. Let me read it from the screen. It's so much easier if I do that. They don't like it when I freestyle. Show@scotferrell.com. Okay, I did get that right. All right, so if you want a question answered, or you have a question, or if you come up with a topic you'd like me to cover, I am known as America's behavior expert. Does that mean I know everything? Absolutely not. It just means I've got a lot of experience and a lot of years and a college degree to back this up. Have I encountered every single thing you could ever face? Of course not. That'd be impossible. But I got a pretty good grasp on the things that most people like. So I used to answer questions for folks on the radio. It's funny. My first real radio time was answering questions on live radio. It's very interesting what you get on live radio. I'll always cherish that time. And then we went to tape radio, and then I went back to live radio. So it's an interesting career out there. My last gig was being syndicated live. So that was also interesting. And then I did some TV, et cetera, et cetera. And now I'm here. So thanks so much for being part of this. Now, I want to finish on time today. So let's go ahead and get to the topic. Parents, creating a successful kid is up to you. Where did I get this from? It's something that I've thought about years since I've been a parent, and everybody else's parent or kids. I was a teacher of some form or another for about 24 years, probably more than that. Began my career in special ed, severe and profound, worked my way up through every, I guess, caseload of special needs. And then I taught regular ed, special ed combined, you name it, I've done it in the educational world. What's the commonality of all that? It's parents. It's what parents want. What I've seen a lot of times, parents wanted to drop their kids off at our school, especially when I was a high school teacher, and allow us to be the parent full time. Well, they forgot that we also had our own children, and that wasn't our job. Remember this when you send your kid to school. The teacher's job is to teach your child an academic subject. That's it. Everything else falls on you. Social training, manners, discipline, how to go after what they want in life. That's all on you. So if it's not an academic subject, it's not your teacher's job. Then if you have a sport, if your kid plays a sport, that coach's job is to teach your child the fundamentals of that sport, and et cetera, that go with that sport. Nothing else. I didn't get many of those. I didn't get many kids who were polished. I didn't get many kids that knew how to act, had any discipline. So many times the parents would come to me during meetings and ask me to teach their kids certain things. And of course I said no, because it wasn't my job. Now we're in the nanny state, the microwave society, and it's gotten even worse. And do you really want your kids being taught? For most of the teachers, half the teachers I taught with should have never been teachers. The other half were phenomenal human beings, and we're lucky to have them. And I can honestly say, when I was a high school student, I had great teachers. They were good people. Did I like their subject all the time? No, but they were still good people. I can't really think of one teacher I had in my whole high school career. Well, one comes to mind. I won't use her name. But outside of that, just good people. And they knew their subject matter. So let's start with you. So let's get this here. All right, creating a successful kid's up to you. That's true. All human programming is done between the ages of 0 to 5 or 0 to 7, depends on which study you partake in. But let's go 0 to 7 to make sure we cover everything. So 0 to 7, we learn through our 5 senses. So everything that's around us as a child is absorbed automatically into our subconscious. So think about that when you're around your child: the music, the language, the food, language as far as profanity, and language as far as what you speak. And every mannerism you have, so many people will tell me, well, I picked up my dad's bad temper. It's not genetic. However, it is behavioral. So whatever you see in the home, you will replicate. So keep that in mind. And you can look this up online. I'm not the only guy that talks about this. I'm the only guy talking about it right now to you. So bearing that, let's look at some things that are within your scope of control. Getting some water. Got a dry mouth today. Woke up with a dry mouth. So let's cover this. I see all these gender reveal parties. Just announce the kid. Anyway, so once we know that we're going to have a child, that's a couple or a person, what do we think? Okay, sometimes panic ensues, sometimes college degree. You're thinking, oh, well, I saved for it. I'm not going to afford this kid. Most people can't afford children, but it doesn't stop them anyway. But what else? What are we thinking about? What are we thinking about the outcome? This is the way I always approach things. Okay, so we're going to have a baby. So let's say you and I are somebody having a baby. What's our first thought? Well, we've got to think about making them a productive member of society, making them a responsible adult, and understand that if we had kids, they're probably going to have kids, and you'll have grandkids and great-grandkids. What's that success look like? What's that strategy look like? As a well-polished adult, what are those characteristics? What are those behaviors? What do you see your child doing? And then you start from there. So it's no different than forming a company, writing a business plan, whatever it is. I treated being a parent like a job. So I teach a lot of parents how to make their kids employees and stuff. We had fun with it, but it works. So once the child's born, you always have to think, what are the required skills that this child has to have to be successful as an adult? You write them down, whatever they are. Here's a piece of paper, write them down. Here's a pen, knock yourself out. So you write out all the skill set that you think it takes to be successful as an adult. Okay, you got to be disciplined, got to be hardworking. You have to understand money. You have to understand people. You have to be kind. You need to love people. You need to know when it's time to say, nope, this is it. They've got to understand boundaries, and you just keep writing them down. Once you do that, you understand what your job is now to get them to 18, because I always tell people, at the age of 18, once they graduate from high school, they're now an official adult. What's that mean? They can be on their own, plain and simple. We got a lot of parents who want to cradle to grave them, want to wrap them in cellophane and not let them get hurt. I can't tell you how many times I went to the hospital as a kid between the age of 0 to 15. I played sports. I had a brother. We had a neighborhood. We rode bikes. We jumped ramps. We climbed trees. We break stuff. Man, somebody broke something every summer. But we're out having fun. We're out being kids. And so what? I got a cast on. I'm still going to play. I played a football game at 105 temperature. Just being a kid. And I was fine. As a matter of fact, it broke my temperature. I was very fortunate because I was raised in a farming community, and all of us just were there, and we had fun, and we played outside all the time, and we did fun things, and we broke bones, and we had concussions, and we did stupid things. We were your typical kids. So what happened to all of us? Well, every guy I grew up with is extremely successful. That's what happened to all of us. But we always understood that by the time we got to 0 to 18, we would be able to go out and do what it was that our skill set was. So let me ask you this question. Where are you in this category? How old's your kid? What have you noticed about your child that's their strength? And I always look at this way. It's the same thing in hiring an employee. What is this employee's 3 strengths that I can use to maximize their talent here at work, keep them satisfied in their job so they don't get bored or dissatisfied, and then make me money, but at the same time reward them in their paycheck? Same thing with a child. We all have, and that's all people, we've all been endowed by a certain skill set by God. And keep this in mind, God's allowed you to have this child at the right time in history, because what he or she has needs to be beneficial to the world. And it's our job as parents to make sure they are. So case in point here, let's think about this. Have you maximized your skill set? Do you know what your skill set is? Do you believe in God? Do you understand why God put you here? Are you doing what you love to do? And when I say love, within your skill set, allowing you to make money and allowing you to contribute to society. Because if you're not, your kid's going to copy this. We had an old saying when I was teaching, if you've seen the child, you've seen the parent. And if you've seen the parent, you've seen the child. All true. If the parents are acting crazy and loud and mad, we've seen the child. If the parent's well-mannered and educated and very polite, we've seen the child. Always works that way. So let's look at your child. Let's look at this. Behavioral people, Piaget would look at it from this way. 0 to 2, 3 to 5. 5 to 13, and we got 13 to 18. And then it depends on which behavioral study you do. So let's go 0 to 2. All right, the terrible 2s. Why are kids terrible at 2? Depends. there's no given reason for every single child because we have to look at spiritual, we have to look at the physical, and we have to look at soul part, mind, will, emotions. We have to take all three of those into account every time we look at a child. So we go 0 to 2. What is the skill set needs to be? All right, now they need to hear no. What is 3 to 5? Now we're building something. We're developing fine and gross motor skills. We're developing the relationship with the outside world. Now let's go 5 to 8. So now 5 to 8. Now we started kindergarten. Now we're going up to the 3rd grade. Now we're still saying no. Now by the time we get to 7, we've decided we have a way to discern what we want. Okay, so at 7, it's no longer being dumped into them. Now they can say no. Now they can receive and then make decisions. Well, if that's true, let's compare that to what somebody needs. So now we go from 7 to 13, 13 to 18. We all know what happened in our lives, and a lot of kids have lately told me that nothing positive happened at school, and I'm getting that from about 80% of the kids that I talk to, which is disturbing. And a lot of them are getting now. We have kids in our youth group, and they're not really sure what they want to do the rest of their lives. They don't understand their skill set. They haven't seen their parents been really happy, and that's not just our youth group. I ask a lot of kids in the Gainesville area. I just walk up and start talking to them. And I'll say, are you crystal clear on who God is, what he made you to do, what your 3 biggest skill sets are, and how you can apply them to the world and how you can make money? I haven't found a kid yet that did. So let's look at this. When your child's born and as they go through life, what are the things we can do as parents to guide them? Well, we'll see their skill sets come out, whether it's an ability in the arts, ability to sing, dance, some physical ability where they can play sports. They may be like me. I was fascinated by the space program. After I watched the first man walk on the moon, that was it. I really loved that. Whatever it is. So we help them in that area, but also as we're helping them grow this skill or the skill sets, we also teach them discipline. Now, how do you teach a child discipline? Well, they've got to clean up their room, clean their bathroom if they have one, tidy up everything, get up at a certain time. Yes, you can teach young children how to get up and get them ready. What are we preparing them for? Every step of the way, I always tell people, don't discipline out of emotion, discipline out of a reason. What's the reason? I've got to prepare this child for the world. So what I'm doing right now is what I'm doing in accordance to who they are at 18, 25, 30, 35. So I have to get my child ready for that scenario. Everything we learn as a child does prepare us for the adult world if we do it right. So why do kids have chores? Well, they're going to have chores as an adult. Let's go ahead and get them used to it now. It also makes them productive. They understand money. They understand why they have to do something. It develops self-discipline. It develops discipline when dealing with other people. So many great things can happen with chores. Now, allowances, you can choose that. There's so many financial books out there. It depends on the child a lot of times or the way you set up the system. I teach parents how to set it up as a job, but they get rewarded for doing a good job with their skill set. So anytime you want to ask me a question, you know how to reach me, show@scotferrell.com or scottferrell.com. But now let's get to, let me keep on time. Let's get to this. So they've had chores since they've been old enough to walk. I had chores once I was able to walk. I had chores to go with it. I knew how to cook by the age of 6, had great grandparents. I could do laundry by 7. There was not much I couldn't do by the age of 7. And it was free because I got to cook my own meals. I liked cooking. My dad was a great cook. So I got to learn so many different things, and I applied them once I got older because at 18, I was on my own. I was ready to go. I could do anything that I needed to do to survive. So now let's look at this. So we've got them a work ethic. So work ethic, extremely important. Now let's look at the socialization of the child. What are the social skills like at home? If they're loud and they're screaming in public, they're loud and screaming at home. If they're quiet and polite here, they're polite at home. Why is that so important? Well, I'm starting to see a disturbing trend of kids with no social skills. I'm seeing a lot of people with no social skills. Now, we've allowed this object to take the place of social skills training. I see whole tables of kids actually texting back and forth, but not talking. That doesn't work in the business world. I want to let you know that now. It does not work, and it doesn't work in interpersonal skills or with relationships. Won't work. So we have to teach the kids. Now, how do we teach a kid a social skill? Start with siblings. I tell parents a lot of the times, do not let your kids fight, fuss, and argue. Are they going to be able to fight, fuss, and argue with everybody at work? Now, I know people try it, but that's not a skill. What are we supposed to teach in the home? Love. That's your brother. That's your sister. Love them. Let's teach them how to love each other. Let's teach them how to, all right, that's your skill set, that's your skill set, and that's your skill set. Let's work on this together. Politeness at the table, politeness with each other. What happens if there's a disagreement? You've already got a preset system of how to work it out. I teach families all the time. If you've got a disagreement, pre-argue it out. What do I mean? You sit down together. You know it's a hot button in the house with the kids, and you predetermine the outcome before everybody's angry. Because once everybody's angry, all bets are off. I'm going to get my way. I'm already mad. I'm in it to win it, and I'm going to beat you in this argument. That don't work. Because kids that fight and fuss and argue with each other all the time will transition that into life. See it all the time. I see it all the time. And a lot of times it makes for hard feelings, and those siblings are never close again. I can speak personally to that. And I know so many people that tell the same story. Just because you're in that same house doesn't mean you like each other. But parents need to take the lead and say, we're family. We're going to love each other. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's what God intended for us to do, and we're going to work this together. And then we're going to be together the rest of our lives. And if you do that, kids that get along with each other in the house get along with coworkers. Kids that fight and argue and want to punch people in the face, you got to remember something. Every single behavior you tolerate in the house will transition out to the world. So if you tolerate it in your home, it will show up out in the world. It's that simple. So you need to probably make an inventory and go, man, what am I doing here? What am I allowing my child to transition out into the world? Am I building success in my home with my kids and my family that will allow them to be successful when they get out of here, out from under my apron, so to speak? So we've got that. I'm having to go faster than I normally do, but only have like 14 minutes left. Next, you identify their skill sets. Identify their skill sets, and let them work on those. That's not that difficult. What I see a lot of parents doing is they try to busy up their child's lives. So they enroll them in this class, and this class, and this class, and this sport, and the kid hates it, but they're still doing it. I want you to be well-rounded. It's got its good and its bad, but if the kid hates it, why are we doing it? And here's the thing. Allow your child to focus on something. Okay, I like science, I liked math, but I liked music, and I also played sports. And then I didn't really want to play sports anymore. I really wanted to focus on whatever it was I was focusing on. Music was one of them. But I didn't have any parental support, so I stopped focusing on anything but drugs. Okay, so that can be an outcome, and I see a lot of kids turning this these days. Since I wasn't allowed to pursue my strengths and my interest, I pursued something else to numb my body because I became a drug addict by the time I was 16 and an alcoholic. I hid it fairly well from some people, and then it started to unravel, and my whole life unraveled. People were starting to see that. My teachers were starting to notice, my principal, everybody started to notice that I was starting to unravel. How did that happen? I didn't have a clear, definable goal. Nobody sat down with me about my skill set. I definitely didn't have any discipline at home to turn to, and I was basically raising myself. All right, so if that's the case, I didn't have anybody to turn to go through this. That's why I'm telling you to do it now. So here's what we did with our youngest. And this was probably the best advice we could have given it. I set him down when he was 13. I said, okay, you're athletically built. You're in great shape. You really enjoyed this child. You had to beat him to wear shoes and come inside. We didn't beat him, but you know what I mean. He just enjoyed being outside. And I was like that as a kid too. So I got that. He just wanted to work outside. He wanted to be out into the sunshine and the wind. Didn't matter if it was cold. He didn't care. I said, okay, so here's your skill set. You can fix anything, because he started working on stuff in the basement. He was making fishing lures. The kid had a talent for just taking stuff apart and putting it back together. I said, okay, so you want to work outside? Probably. That's probably where we're going to get you to do. You want to pick up, because he really liked pickup trucks. I grew up like that. Sometimes I don't understand city kids. No, nothing wrong with pickup trucks. What I'm saying, they're kind of enamored with the country. Now I'm ready to go back. So he wanted to pursue something outside, probably landscaping, building, construction, something. So we sat down and I mapped out. We have a 6x6 whiteboard, and I mapped the next 5 years of his schooling out. So I said, okay. I said, first off, what's your skill set? So we put it down. I could fix everything, physically able to do just about anything. He's a nice looking kid. He's very polite. And we put all that down. Very disciplined, got up on his own. The kid was disciplined. I said, okay, great student. All right. So now where do you want to work? And he really wanted to go out west and work and be out there. Okay. I said, what are the two dominant languages in the United States? Because I told him, I said, you're always going to want to have two. You want to have as many opportunities as you can. So that was Spanish and English at the time. We had looked at French, but there weren't enough French here. So I asked him, where do you want to travel? Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and make sure you've got your Spanish out of the way, get your English out of the way. Goodness, we see a lot of kids not being able to do that now. All right. History. What kind of history? I said, then we got to science. Okay. He was actually good at physics, my favorite topic. So he excelled at physics. Okay. So that's putting things together. Enjoyed geometry. Okay. Got the whole spectrum there. I said, okay, this is where you've got to go. And then upon graduation, you're probably going to want to go to this technical school and get this training. All right, we mapped that out at 13. He already knew what his skill set was. He knew how much money he could make. I said, all right, now we're going to approach summer jobs from your skill set. If you want to mow grass, you want to work at a golf course, it'll give you the knowledge you're going to need to do this by yourself. One of my cousins is a turf expert. I had no idea there was so much to learn in just grass. And he's one of the top experts, probably in the state of North Carolina, steel. And he's a superintendent at a country club, I think now. But he's phenomenal at what he does. And I said, well, I can see you see my cousin. Whatever you want to do, this is what you want to do. I know it, so let's do it. So every summer, he got odd jobs. He would work on people's stuff, mow people's grass, whatever it was. And then he'd get another job. This kid was not afraid to work because he liked money. And I told him, I said, at 18, as soon as you walk across the stage for your graduation, July 1, you'll be moving out of our house. Why did I say that? Well, I'm going to spend 5 years helping him go ahead and learn how to get an apartment, go ahead and get his car out of the way, help him with his insurance, let him know how to make a budget. I was going to have him prepared because it's his turn. It's his turn to go be a man, go live life, and go explore. I even told him, I said, tell you what, because I didn't get this opportunity, I want you to have an opportunity. Pick a place. I said, just spin that globe and pick a place. And we'll buy you a ticket, one-way ticket to go explore. Just go have fun, go explore the world. Where do you want to go? And we talked about Alaska, Montana, South Dakota, whatever it was, Idaho, a lot of cool stuff out there. And it's a beautiful country. So now I'm going to give you a one-way. Here's why. We'll already have enough money saved up for you to go live there if you want to and explore. And then you may want to get a job while you're out there and you may want to stay. It doesn't matter, but just go have some fun and see the world. Now, some things interfered with that, but that was the deal. That was the deal I laid out there because I wanted him to understand that the world's way bigger than Georgia and the world's way bigger than the United States and it's way bigger than North America. You see where I'm going with this. And there's so much out there to see and do. Go do it. And I always tell people it's okay to take that gap year between college. A lot of people, again, I'll tell you this, 25% of high school graduates are ready for college. That's it. You can ask any teacher, they'll tell you that. You can start asking colleges that. They're starting to complain the kids aren't ready to be there because the high school degree that their kids are getting now is worth almost nothing in a lot of places. Don't send me any hate mail on this one. I know it's true because I was in the school system. We've dumbed down a curriculum so bad, and now we allow kids to take tests 20 times because they have to just to pass it, or we just pressure teachers to change grades. It's all happening. So I understand what the state of education is. But you got to handle what's in your house. In your house is you're building this child to be a productive adult. You're building this child to be able to live his or her life based on their skill set and what God wants them to do. Now let's get to something, the passion of life. Kids tell me now, I just want to do what I'm passionate about. Here's what I'm passionate about. My relationship with Christ and my family. That's what I'm passionate about. My relationship with Christ does make me money. I'm a pastor. But for the most part, these things won't make you money. Let's go back to what are the 3 skills that you have that can make you money? Something that bothers me and has bothered me for years is I'll talk to a kid and I'll say, what's your major? Sculpture, sociology, psychology, without all the doctorate to go with it, philosophy, women's studies, African-American studies. It'd be like me getting a white guy degree. No thanks. None of these skill sets transfer to the real world. Can't work on a house, can't get a job, sales job's not going to help you, manufacturing, logistics, fashion, none of these are going to help. What we're doing is we're allowing kids to get degrees that can't make money. I think I read a report from Forbes, actually. 15% of the college degrees right now can make the money back that you've gotten in a loan, and they all are in mathematics of some form. Engineering, finance, architecture, of course, and then mathematics is also parlayed into being an attorney or doctor, or you always have to have math or science for that. So those other degrees that you just spent $100,000 on, you can't even pay the loan back. Why would you? It's the equivalent. I always work this out for parents. Would you put $100,000 into a business right now that was failing and in debt, and you didn't have the skill set to bring it back, and you didn't have the money to hire a coach or someone who could guide you through how to make that business profitable? The answer is no. So why would you pour $100,000 into a degree that, knowing you coming out, you can't get a job, you're still going to be waiting tables, and you still have $100,000 in debt? Doesn't make any sense, right? So stop doing it. Again, I put myself through school. I mean, I went to school late in life. I got my degree, paid for it cash, paid for it out of my own pocket. I worked, golly, I was a basketball coach and a teacher. I worked 50 to 60 hours a week just on my job, went to school another whatever hours. I didn't have a lot of hours for sleep or fun or personal life, but I completed that in a little under the 4-year mark. And I was one of the top students in my college. Why? I made a decision. I knew what time I had to graduate. I took as many classes as I could. I remember my last year, I took 12, 18, and 21 to graduate. But I did what I had to do to get my degree and then go on to start my life. Same thing here. You always have to sit and ask yourself before you do anything with your child, will this allow my child to progress in life and be a complete adult that contributes to the world, is able to raise children the right way, and will this glorify God? If it doesn't, don't do it. Same thing with discipline. And when I'm saying discipline, this time I'm actually talking about discipline, not punishment, but discipline. Don't discipline a child out of emotion. Discipline a child out of reason. And here's the thing. You don't have to discipline children if you've explained the process ahead of time. Let's look at it this way. We sit down with HR before we get put out on the floor of the job, and they go through the yeses and nos and ins and outs, vacation, but they also go over the rules. And they understand that if you do the following, you'll be terminated. If you do this, you'll be disciplined. Same thing here. You have to have family meetings with your kids and go over these things. And if you go over these things prior to going out in public or whatever the event is, you have way less issues. And eventually your child will self-discipline. Why do I know this? I did it in every classroom I had and did it with our kids. Done it with other people's kids and taught this church-wide. So it works. So let's recap because I'm starting to run out of time. I got 3 minutes. Okay. Make sure every decision you make with your child is based on the 18, the 25, 35, 45-year-old. Get that child ready to take on the world. Now, understand they have a skill set. Help them figure out that skill set. Help them maximize that skill set. Remember, passion's great. Passion's great. I want people to have fun. I want people to love stuff. But you can't make a living a lot of times with your passion. Nobody wants me to sit around and talk about how much I love my wife, even though I do. And she's the greatest thing ever happened to me. And she helped save my life when I was sick. That's all true. But nobody wants me to sit and repeatedly do shows on that, right? So that's cool. I understand that. But what's my skill set? Well, I'm great in behavior. I can help people solve problems. What I do in my business is I'm a consultant. I help businesses put the pieces back together, and I help families put the pieces back together. It's that simple. If you got a problem, we help solve it. As a matter of fact, shameless plug time. Here's my book. Everything that I just talked about, it's in this book. It's not the image shoot. That incredibly attractive guy right there, that's me. It's funny, I took this photo was taken before I got sick, and I do notice the differences in what I look like now. It's very interesting to see yourself pre and post. Okay, so I hope this was helpful. I don't have time to go over everything. I actually do workshops on this. It takes about 2 days. You could probably knock this out in a day. I could probably knock this out in a workshop. Probably 6 or 7 hours I could do it. A to Z on how to parent and how to make sure the kids are successful and how to make sure that you enjoy the process is a lot of the stuff. But if you have any questions for me, again, the title was Creating a Successful Kid. It's up to you, Mom and Dad. But also you can reach me at show@scotferrell.com. And if you want to go by my website, it's scotferrell.com. Remember, that's 1 T. Also, I am a pastor in the Gainesville, Georgia area. If you want to go to our church, encounterchrist.org. Be glad to have you. Be prepared to get hugged, loved on, and appreciated. And we'll let you know that we're glad to have you there. All right, I'm going to sign off right now. Thank you so much for being with me today. I hope these little tidbits helped. I do what I can in 30 minutes every Wednesday, but I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. All right, I'm Scott Farrell. Thanks so much for being part of this. Take care.